Hello and welcome to the Warren Buffett podcast with Matthew Warren-Katz and Steve Buffett. Steve, how are you doing today?
Hey, doing all right. How are you doing today, Matt?
I'm doing well. I wanted to start off with a bit of news. I saw an article from ABC7. It says 12-year-old boy genius accepted to Georgia Tech has dreams of going to Mars. First of all, I think we can all agree, fuck this kid.
Hot take.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't get it. Like, he's 12. You can make him wait. Give him 6 years to hang out and play Fortnite and figure out masturbation is great. I was 12 once. You know what we did? Minecraft and masturbate. Now they put guns in Minecraft. It's Fortnite, baby. There's no way it's this kid's idea. There's no way. He's like, oh, you know what I want to do is I want to go to Mars. And the parents were like, oh, you want to go to Mars? Well, we're going to make that happen. We're going to put you in a rocket and we're going to shoot you to Mars. But I'm not smart enough. We're going to get you there. This is like, this is child endangerment. This is like toddlers and tiaras at Stanford. That's what I'm hearing from this article. Nobody wants to talk about that. This is somehow great. I think it's horrifying.
I feel like the parents just really want to get rid of him. They're like, he's 12, he's old enough, get him out of the house.
Yeah, our 12-year-old wants to start an accelerated PhD program. Oh, really? Yeah. We hired a company in China to fake his SAT scores. He's not really a boy genius. They're just trying to get him out of the house.
I was going to say, his SAT scores are 10 million? That seems off.
The scholarships are like a way to, not have to pay for all of his stuff. But these parents are they're like rich parents and they made their kid do this and blah, blah, blah. They're living through him like, I'll never get to go to Mars. I'll send my kid there. Like, I don't know. I don't like how we celebrate this stuff. It seems stupid. Let him be a kid.
Yeah.
Or let him go to Mars. Like, I give a fuck.
If he wants to go, let him. That's what I say. I don't care how many 12-year-olds it takes.
I don't either. I don't care how many 12-year-olds we lose, but in the mission to get a 12-year-old to Mars, 12-year-olds are always getting into stuff. I'm sure that maybe they'll end up finding the water or whatever it is up there. I did want to talk about children a little bit more. Wanted to talk about specifically Jeffrey Epstein's business model. So, Steve, do you know a lot about Epstein?
I know that he went to jail and there was some conspiracy about how he ended up, but that's about all I know about him.
He was like this finance guy, sort of. So what happened was he went to school for finance. He got this mentor, and the mentor helped him start his own business, right? So that's kind of the undisputed part. And here's my take though of how it got to where it became, okay? So he's running this hedge fund. Investing is hard, okay? It's really hard, and he probably needed to make money another way. So he probably did what a lot of hedge funds do, and he just laundered money for people. So what you do is, you get your wealthy investor, they give you $100,000, you give them an investment return of $2 million, whoa. And, it's from their offshore bank account, where they store their blood money or whatever it is, right? Totally normal, right? This happens all the time. But the problem for him is then these companies start going, well, why should I choose you to launder my blood money, And that's why you got to differentiate, okay? So it's not all about the product, but the service, okay? It's a competitive market, and the business has to go on. And, as business tends to be, some things are surprising. Some things become more, important than others. And this is one where the services became, more important than the product, right? So, look at Starbucks. They started with coffee, and then all of a sudden the vanilla bean frappuccino takes off, and the business model's totally changed, okay? This is similar, all right? You start laundering money, it goes okay, but then you have to kind of, you got to differentiate. You got to make it worth it for people. You got to start, offering things like traffic children to abuse while you wait in the lobby.
Oh, my God.
And eventually, as business happens to be, people come for the coffee, and then sometimes they want to just come back for a frappuccino. And that's what happened here. People come back and they go, hey, I want to invest another $10,000. And they're like, well, how much are you looking to return for it? So, I just wanted to, wait in the lobby, if you know what I mean. And I think that's how the business really started, right? Because, now, the extra goes to being like a paid product. You kind of need to step it up. You can't, if it was free, it was whatever. Now you got to step it up. So like you look at weed becomes legal, and now you need better packaging. You need a menu. People want to know, like a foodie, like the origin story of the weed. They want to know how the okra got into the salad. Same thing happened with Epstein. You know, people were like, hey, you know, how did this kid get here? Can you tell me a bit about their story? Do you have any that are younger? Do you have any that are browner? Maybe that don't cry as much?
Oh my God.
Realistically, though, I think that's ridiculous. They were probably asking for ones that could, you know, cry more.
Oh.
Do you have any that can take a beating? And they had to be like, I'm sorry, Mr. Trump. We kind of have, you know, it's a backlog and blah, blah, blah. He is in the flight logs. You can look that up. So, you know, and there's like cases against him, and this girl was like, I was 14. It's fucked up. But, you know, so now, you know, after a while, this business is really booming. You know, the inventory is getting out of hand. There's a lot of customers, and there's a lot of upkeep. You know, this is not a good business for breakage in the product, right? So enter Epstein's Island. Now, you know, they've got their own warehouse. You know, there's a lot of expenses. You can't buy traditional business interruption insurance for a human trafficking ring. You know, they don't have insurance for becoming under indictment for human trafficking. It's very difficult to underwrite that. It would be an actuarial nightmare. Could you imagine trying to, like, regress propensity to be indicted for child trafficking into, like, a model to underwrite insurance for that?
Yeah, I feel like the payout would be just super complicated, right? It's like, all right, it was only 3 kids, you know, you get X amount. No good? I'm just saying, from an actuarial standpoint, this would be just such a headache, you know?
You'd probably need like a that kind of Poisson regression that like uses like zeros to for like the number of kids and stuff, and it'd be a nightmare. It's like, we predict that you're going to get taken down by 4.5 kids. They're like, 4.5? How does that work? And you have to explain adding up probabilities to them because they're child traffickers. They don't get it. They're like, you cut them in half? I never thought of that. So yeah, you can't underrate that. Truly a nightmare. And you'd also need in the data people who did and did not get caught. So you'd have to... that's another issue. But yeah, so then, you know, he's got to get his own insurance, right? He's got to take it into his own hands. So he starts making videotapes of everybody using the products. Now he can blackmail,
Smart.
Okay? So if anybody says, I'll do that. Right, yeah. And then, you know, of course... he's got a lot of data now. He's got this video, he's got this flight log, he's got all this stuff, right? He's got, you know, where people are making their money they're laundering, he's got what kind of little children that... he's got all this stuff, right? And, you know, data is more valuable than gold, so you gotta find a way to monetize that. You gotta find a way to make money off the data, okay? So you call up some agencies like the CIA and Mossad, and you kind of have to feel them out. It's like a cold call, like sales, like, hey, just curious, you know, theoretically, let's say, what if I had a way to blackmail any politician or powerful person? You know, would that be valuable to you? Like, how much would that valuable? Well, that kind of depends. How do you do it? We have a pretty strict code of ethics here. Oh, maybe, you know, human trafficking, like younger and, like, you know, children, child trafficking, maybe that. Oh, that's not even a blip on the radar. Want to come down to the office? Really? Really? Even Epstein's surprised. Like, what? It's like, I can't believe it. So he's like, sure, how's tomorrow? And they're like, Epstein's like, I got time, you know, between like 3 to 4, and then like any time after 6 would be good. They're like, oh, sorry, you know, we close at 5. Would you be able to do it at 4? Like, I don't think I can make it, you know. And then the secretary's like, I'll share a calendar, maybe that'll help. And Epstein's like, okay, that'd be great.
It's like an Outlook invitation.
Yeah, discussion on blackmail. Like, required, Epstein, optional, the Mossad.
Cambridge Analytica.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I don't know. What are you going to do? That's, you know, you got to start a business. A business is the real way to secure financial freedom. What are you going to do? You going to get like a PhD or something?
I hope not. I mean, you know, I think everything kind of became clear to me when you mentioned the Frappuccino from Starbucks. I really got it then. But no, I hope nobody gets a PhD.
I certainly, you know, I mean, for the audience, all 7 of our subscribers, we love very much.
Thank you.
Please leave a comment with your name and social security number, banking details, anything that you think would be helpful to support the podcast. But for the audience, not to make you guys feel lesser, but both Steve and I have advanced degrees. We have master's degrees, and we have discussed, should you get a PhD, right? I'm not convinced. I think it depends what you get it in. Like, if you're going to get a math PhD and go work on Wall Street for $1 million a year, hell yeah, it's worth it. But if you're going to get, like, some type of degree in, like, social work, like a PhD, it's probably not worth it. It's probably not going to pay off. Sorry.
No chance. English literature, are you kidding me?
No.
Like, just stop. And I feel also that a ton of people come in with PhDs to certain jobs, and they're either working with people with like an MBA or just something that required 2 or 3 years, that people, maybe they got it at night school. Or if I had a PhD and the person next to me had the exact same job and had, just an MBA or one of these masters in communications or whatever, I would be furious. I don't think I could work there, to be honest. I'd probably just quit. I'd be like, I have a real degree here.
Well, I find that, like, all the time, because, I have, like, a business-focused master's degree, but I work in a quantitative field. I do, programming, data science stuff, and, like, I think it's hilarious that my master's degree was much easier than, like, a quantitative, 100% like a quantitative one, like a math one or, like, a stats one. Like, it was much easier, but I have the same job, and I gotta tell you, I had a lot of fun in college and a lot of fun in grad school. These people did not. They did not. I can tell you that because they are boring and not fun to talk to.
I totally believe that. But yeah, I think it's a certain person that gets that PhD, or does like the PhD and then the postdoc fellow, and then they end up at the exact same firm that you do, sitting next to you, staring at you.
Right. I imagine that the reason that they're no fun is because they wake up every day just filled with the thought of, like, the fuck did I do that for? Like 6 years. Why did I do that? I have to talk to this guy. He had a great time. He's 6 years younger than me. He makes just as much money as I do. He's probably got a much bigger dick. And it's probably what happened.
I mean, that's a guarantee.
Did you know that, like, half of PhDs are fake?
Half?
Yeah, like, I have a CBS News article here. I'll make a note to put this in the description for anybody listening. But yeah, half of PhDs are fake. Like, every year, people buy fake PhDs online. You can buy them. There's fake universities that pretend that they're technically accredited or not. I don't know. And they just give you degrees. So yeah, a bunch are fake.
That's wild. That's why okay. So I'm not going to take back what I said about if you actually got a PhD and you're sitting across from someone with a master's or a bachelor's, you have every right to be pissed off, and I think you should. But if you have a fake PhD, I mean, that's a totally different story. If you're sitting across the table from the person with the master's, you'd probably be feeling pretty smug. No one knows what's really going on here, but everything I present, is garbage.
Right. Like, they have a master's, you're like, and they're trying to tell you something because you don't actually know anything because you have a fake degree, and you're just have to say that, excuse me, it's Dr. Katz. That throws them off completely. They're like, yeah, sorry, I don't, they're like, yeah, your model doesn't make any sense. Why did you, excuse me, it's Dr. Katz. Right, and just completely throw off their whole thing.
You carry your diploma with you just to throw it down on the table for those moments. You never take off your fake graduation gown.
You did a fake photo shoot to make it look real. You invite your friends and family, like, I didn't know he was in a PhD.
That's your one skill, it's Photoshop.
He's so humble. He didn't even mention it.
Unbelievable.
I know someone who faked a PhD.
Really?
Yeah, I know someone who faked a PhD. I worked with him at a job, and he was fired. Not from that job, from his previous job, and then got a job with me. So that tells you what kind of, So he must have felt really smug. He was like, I got a fake PhD. This guy's got a real master's. I got fired, and I still have the same job as him.
So was he fired because they found out?
Yeah, so it's actually a pretty hilarious story. So he was ABD for a real PhD.
Mm-hmm.
So ABD is all but dissertation. Dissertation is like a big paper you write at the end of your PhD to get your degree. So he had everything done but the dissertation. And the way that most people do this is they get a stipend to be a TA or a research assistant or something like that, and then They spend, 4 or 5 hours a day, 10 hours a day, whatever that is, doing that. And then they spend the rest of their time finishing their dissertation. You get 12, 15 grand maybe as your stipend. It's not a lot, but you're in a college town. You've done it for 5 years with your PhD already. You can do it for another, semester to finish up. But what some people do is, if they already have the dissertation in the bag, they might try to go and get an assistant professorship or an associate professorship somewhere. And the reason that is really a bad idea is because you need to be doing new research and contributing to the field. You have to publish or you're going to get fired, publish or perish, as they say. And you have to finish your dissertation, which is like 15 papers rolled into one. So you're trying to finish this insane document, and then you're also trying to do new research. And so what happened to him was that he got a job doing that as an assistant professor. And then keeping it was contingent on finishing his PhD, so the dissertation, right? He has probably the worst work ethic of anybody I've ever worked with in my life. One time, I went into his office, because he had his own office, of course, and he was working on an Excel formula, okay? It was an if formula. For those of you who don't know how if formulas work in Excel, you write a statement that has to be evaluated as true or false, and then you write, if it's true, do this, if it's false, do that. He spent 3 hours trying to make an if function work, and the reason it wasn't working was because he forgot to put in what to do if it's false. So this guy didn't finish his PhD. He did not finish the dissertation, and because he has a terrible work ethic and he's an idiot. And so he then needs to present the PhD to keep his assistantship. So his assistant professorship. And that's a much better job than the stipend. The stipend's 12, 15 grand. The professorship is 65, 70. It's huge, especially when you've been living on poverty wages in grad school. So he doesn't finish the dissertation and buys a fake degree online and then presents that to the school.
Get out.
So yeah. And then, so they did just the smallest amount of due diligence. They checked with the school and said, hey, is this legit? And they said no.
Oh, my God. Wait, so he gave the fake degree for an actual school. Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah. Well, because he gave a fake degree for the school he was actually at, and then he was intending to, finish the PhD for real, kind of on a slower scale, finish the dissertation and do it whenever at his leisure, and then actually get the real degree and hope nobody finds out. So they did that, and they were like, okay, you're a liar. So then what they did was, because he was working at a state institution, I think it became a real crime. It was a felony because it was theft by deception. That's right. So it was theft by deception in excess of $5,000 because his salary was more than that.
Came back to bite him.
So he got charged with a felony and then got the fuck out of there. And then his brother, who worked at the company I worked at, and this happened before I worked there, he gets him a job there. He gets the hell out of wherever he's at, and he comes here, and he joins that company, and he kind of got out of it. It kind of worked out, so he's not a professor. He never got to do that, and now, he works at this consulting company.
That's a crazy story, man. I wonder,
It gets worse.
So
his whole family are academics. They're all PhDs. So this was the worst thing you could do. And it's basically just the saddest story ever. He's probably the fattest man I've ever met. His real name I can't say, so I'll just call him Chad East. Chad is the worst. Okay, he's probably the fattest guy I've ever met. I'm gonna have a former coworker and good friend on at some point to tell more stories about Chad East. But he one time told us this story about how he was ordering a sandwich, and there was like 5 of us sitting around at lunch, whatever it is, and there was this new hire there, this girl who was super hot, and he is at this point, this 40-something-year-old 500-pound disgusting man who has beard dandruff on his polo, always wearing a baseball cap for no real reason. He one time called walking from one end of the office to the other, getting his exercise for the day. And he told us this story. He comes in to sit down. He's got his food, and he says, so I was just getting the sandwich, and I told the guy what I wanted on it. I told him I wanted mayo, and I wanted him to add oil. And the guy says to me, you must really not care about your health. And then acted like that guy was a total jerk to bring that up, which he kind of is. But he tells us this story like we're all going to relate, like, oh yeah, I hate when that happens. Really hate that. The other day, I told them to add 600 pepperonis to one slice, and they looked at me like I was nuts. And then he tells us this story, and then he leans over to the new hire, this girl, and he says, so, you living around here? Where are you living? So
oh my God.
So he tries to use this as this 40-year-old guy with beard dandruff on his polo just told us this story where he basically said, hey, you guys ever do a really fat thing and then someone calls you out for being fat? So, come here often. So yeah, he's pretty stupid. Definitely probably ate so much fast food. I cannot imagine what the Grubhub looks like at their house during a pandemic. Ugh.
Yeah, you know how you used to get cell phone bills and it would detail, like all your phone calls or all your messages? I wish Grubhub would send you a bill. And I feel like his would be, like ticker tape. It'd be just across the room if you stretched it out. But, at the same time, I feel like it can't be that hard in the U.S. to gain 500 pounds. A lot of people are doing it. I think it's just because fast food is so cheap. But
everybody's doing it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I hope not. But we have whole TV shows dedicated to people just being enormous. Like, we need to stage interventions. You ever see those shows where it's like, you've gained 40 pounds when you were supposed to lose 30 for this surgery. What happened? And the people are like, I was malnourished. And you're like, you weighed like 600. You were not malnourished. But yeah, I think part of it is just because fast food is so good. But I am a little bit concerned with how it's so cheap. I mean, think of like the supply chain for your hamburger. Right? Okay, so you got your cow, right? Allegedly, this is how it all starts. So you got your cow, it's injected with human-cow hybrid growth hormone, and it goes to the cutting room floor where they cut it up and then they ship it off to the McDonald's or whatever lab. I'm just trash another sponsor there, where they fragrance it, they dye it, they replace the additives that they had going into the cow to make sure only the good ones are there post cow. And from the lab it goes to the freezer, and from the freezer it goes to the truck that's hopefully frozen, and then it ends up at your McDonald's where they fry it and they serve it up. And you're telling me they can do all of that and it still costs $1? Something doesn't seem right there, right? After all, I mean, is nobody concerned that the price doesn't rise with inflation?
I think does it not? Is it not an economy of scale?
Dude, the dollar menu still exists, but I think it's been $1 since 9/11. Like, something's not right here. I don't buy it. I don't believe that every year they save enough money on supply chain management improvements to keep the price where it is. They're either growing the cows in, you ever see the movie The Island where they just grow clones for like rich people? I feel like it's got to be something like that where we're just eating clone cows, or we're eating something else entirely. Do you agree with that?
I don't know. I mean, I want to believe in the economy of scale, and I also want to believe in the power of putting sawdust in food to make it cheaper. I think that it's not... What's the problem?
Well, Taco Bell got hit for that. You remember when, whatever government regulatory agency was like, this isn't even... You can't call this legally meat. You legally cannot do that. This is like, there's too much of the sawdust and, whoever's working in the factory that falls into the vat, you cannot call this meat. And Taco Bell was like, fine, we're going to call it the Cheesy Gordita Crunch. I just think something's off here. So, I'm going to take a moment on this podcast to call for a full investigation by the powers that be into the dollar menu at all of these establishments. I need CEOs brought before Congress or a tribunal determined by this podcast to figure out what's going on here, because something doesn't add up. Something smells fishy, and it's not the Filet-O-Fish.
I say if we take our 8 subscribers plus me, because I'm impartial, then we have like a 9-person military tribunal where we can have these CEOs come by and upon guilt, execution immediately. I think you can do it because you seem pretty passionate about this, but I don't see any problem with that.
Yeah,
I'm on board.
Okay, good.
Everyone comment your phone number so that I can call you and we can coordinate where We are going to form a militia to discuss supply chain management with the CEO of Burger King and McDonald's, okay?
Absolutely. And also please add
make a Google Doc.
Please add your credit card information so we can handle, any sort of surcharges that comes from getting you over here. But
Right. We are doing the tribunal underwater, so it's going to be very expensive.
It's going to be very costly. But yeah, I mean, that's just the issue with fast food. It's so cheap and it's so readily available. I could totally see gaining 500 pounds. I think if I were faking my way through a PhD, I'd probably also be 500 pounds, at least.
At least, yeah. He also told us, it's kind of coming back to me now, he told us that he used to be a runner and then he was in shape, and then once he got the job there, then he got fat, which I can tell you is not true from his mugshot, which I looked up. It's so pathetic being a fat guy and then just pretending not only were you not a criminal, but while you're at it, you were hot.
Yeah, I think once you fake your PhD, whatever you say goes out the window, right? You can be like, I'm not fat, and no one's buying that, even if it's over Skype.
How can you? I think the worst part about it, too, is that he consults for colleges.
Businessman.
He consults for colleges, and he got fired from a college for having a fake PhD.
Yeah, this guy's a true shark. This guy's the modern day Wolf of Wall Street of academia.
We are a country of hucksters and snake oil salesmen, and he probably ate both of them. But he's one of them.
They're like, let me out.
Oh man, the one thing I liked about, there were a couple things. Most of all, I hated working there, but looking back, there are a couple nice things. There wasn't a ton of business jargon, which I hate, and there wasn't a ton of business formality or anything either. So I kind of liked that. How do you feel about business terminology and formalities and all that?
I kind of see it as this big game that keeps people from entering, into certain positions. It's like, if you don't know that you're supposed to send a follow-up email, or, if you don't know all these rules of engagement, you're just kind of screwed. I really hate that about these business terms. And also, I feel like an entire industry is just built around defining synergy or defining, horizontal integration, when it's like, we don't need any of this, right? We don't need your PowerPoint slides, Deloitte. We don't need, your whatever, Quibi videos. Let's just do away with all of this and just, speak like humans.
Yeah, I think that there's a huge difference too with business terminology. If somebody's talking about gross profit, revenue, expenses, those make sense. You need to use those. That's what they're called. I'm talking about when people say, we're trying to embrace a client-centric e-business with adaptive, agile, continually and conveniently, credibly, objectively, engaging, engineering, enhancing, envisioneer, visicute. I have a list, but that's just how easy this is. You can just read a list and it sounds right. That's how BS it is.
It's all adjectives.
I've got a website here. It's the corporate BS generator. It's at atrixnet.com/BS-generator. Let me just click on something. We're trying to appropriately enhance clicks and mortar sources. That's not good.
No.
Collaboratively administrate scalable niches. Yeah, exactly. It's all BS. Constant. We're a multidisciplinary, next generational, virtualization web service. You can just make anything up.
It's weird. That all made perfect sense to me.
Yeah. I think that the one business term that I hate, because it's the most dishonest term, is opportunity. Do you hear people say opportunity a lot?
Yeah, I hear that every now and again. Sure.
Seems like a great opportunity for me. I have an opportunity for you. What do you think about this opportunity? Opportunity translates to way to make money. I think this is a great opportunity for you. I think this is a great way to make money for you. I'm really interested in that opportunity. I'm really interested in that way to make money. I think that, this seems like a really great opportunity for the business. This is a really great way to make money for the business. That's what it means. That's all it means. And I feel like that's just part of American business culture, is that we're so disingenuous that the corporate BS all sounds right and makes sense, because no one can actually say how they feel. No one comes out and says, I want to make a lot of money.
Yeah, that's true, man. Or at least it's frowned upon, right? If you, well, I mean, think about it, right? If you go into a job interview and someone's like, "So why do you want to work here?" You're not going to be like, "Because you pay over six figures." You're going to be like, "Well,
Yeah.
it's a great opportunity to pivot my career into a budding industry." You know, if you don't know the jargon
Right.
and if you don't know how to apply the word opportunity correctly, you're done.
No, 100%. What you just said is totally true. And I have a friend. I had a friend who was honest with me once, and we were talking about what we wanted to do when we graduated college. And he said to me, "I don't know what I want to do, but I know I want to be wealthy." This man was double majoring in gender studies and English. I love him. He's a great guy. Like, he was the only person who was honest about it, and all these businesses are just so dishonest. Like, every business is kind of full of it. You know, like Hollywood, super full of it.
Yeah, man. I've got a major bone to pick. I think it's in the same way that we have all these business terms, that we use and the way that we kind of think about companies. I think we kind of have a similar viewpoint on the movie industry. It just weirdly reflects our preferences for big companies that we love to support. We need I feel like if we don't do something soon, we're going to end up in a situation where we're basically going to be supporting like the 6 movie franchises for the rest of our lives that are making it. It's like, think of it this way. It's like Fast and the Furious is essentially Amazon. Like you go in, you know what you're getting. You don't want to fuck with the 2-day shipping / dopamine delivery. It's,
Instant.
yeah, it's just instant. It's so routine at this point. And you know how a lot of critics say that we need to encourage independent filmmaking or just movies that aren't these big blockbuster hits?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a point there, right? Like, we don't want to lose an important part of our movie culture, and also just to encourage innovative ideas. Because right now it's, like nobody wants to see these small-time movies or these independent movies. They're like, that's too big a gamble on the, like, $10 that I have. And especially now when you can stream
Right.
everything at home, you're like, my time's too valuable. And you're like, no, it's not. But I feel like there's a middle ground here where, okay, this is my solution to Hollywood. We take characters, right, from these superhero movies, like Captain America, Thor, whoever, Black Panther, and you put them into non-blockbuster independent roles. So here's an example for you. It's a good idea. Let's say you got Captain America, right? And instead of him, fighting the Winter Soldier or taking down, parts of the government that are evil, you send him home for Thanksgiving to find out that his dad is actually gay and he's been lying to his whole family his entire life. You get Vin Diesel from the Fast and the Furious, and instead of him racing cars in Tokyo, you get him to take an introspective look at his tendency for violence and fast driving through therapy, and at the same time, maybe, he connects with his Latina neighbor and her teenage boy who's becoming involved with inner city gangs, and, through like working together and really just like uniting as a community with the neighborhood, they kind of solve each other's problems. These are the kind of movies that are going to get us out of this blockbuster fix. I don't see another way around this. Do you?
I mean, I think I would be down to see a movie where Catwoman goes back to college and rediscovers her sexuality. She dyes her hair pink or something, cuts it short. She takes a interpretive dance class and meets this guy who's kind of a jerk. He's like a year older than her, but she's kind of intrigued, and she kind of just discovers a lot about herself. I would watch that.
Yeah, you just put Catwoman 3 and no subtitle and let people come, and that's how we figured this out. And I really hope some VCs are listening right now.
I would probably just steal the idea. It's good, though. It's good. You can take it. I'll pay for it. It's fine.
You'll pay for it.
I don't know. I probably won't. I don't really know. I mean, I think I know who is paying for these movies.
Who?
Brunch people. Brunch people, they're kind of the worst. The brunch person is that trust fund guy, who got a job at his dad's private equity firm. The brunch girls, they go out for bottomless mimosas. They take pictures where they boomerang themselves clinking the glasses. They post a collage of like themselves and their best friend. It's like 5 pictures of them on their birthday. Oh, I love my boo. I love her so much. And I also love brunch. and they Instagram themselves. They put like their fingernails in front of the steering wheel of their BMW, which is a lease, by the way. And then, they post all the time. They're the ones who like burst into song and like try a little too hard to get people to be interested in them.
Ugh.
I hate brunch people. You pointed out a good brunch person stereotype to me. They take the picture where they get the balloons for their birthday. You're turning 24 and you get the 2 and the 4 gold balloon. You take a picture and you're like, oh, I'm so cute. And then some of them are like 36 and they do it. And it's like, oh, God, just stop.
Yeah,
You're
I
done.
hate those balloons.
You're done.
Yeah, you are, man. I feel like we need to find where these balloons are being manufactured and take them down. Similar to how I called for an investigation into the dollar menu. I need to know who's making these balloons, and they need to go down hard, because this is just unacceptable. You can't just... you see these people walking around, they've got the 24, they've got the 27, they've got the 72. Like, I don't care how old you are. We are all aging. Just shut up and put your phone away.
Also, thank you for not only telling me the date that you're born, but your age. Now I have your whole birthday. I can maybe do some social engineering into your bank account. Who knows? You can do anything, really. It's just kind of a stupid violation of your it's a self-violation of your privacy, which is hilarious. The thing about these brunch people, too, is, like, they're taking these pictures and trying to get on, like, social media and be popular and stuff, but they're not good at it. Social media is not to be won by someone in their 30s, okay? Instagram is not for you. It's for 12 and 13-year-old girls to dance on TikTok. That's how social media works. Brunch people, you're just trying to join a trend. You're not starting it. These 12-year-olds are better than you at what you're trying to do. You've been doing it for like 20 years, and they just picked up the phone the other day. They just got it back from being grounded, and they have 1 million followers. That's kind of my problem with the brunch people, is that they're super unoriginal, and they kind of ruin neighborhoods, really. I mean, look at Wicker Park. Wicker Park in Chicago used to be a pretty hipster, cool neighborhood. People would, there was poo on the street, and there was needles everywhere. It was a wild place. And now there's, you can get a vegan chilaquiles at brunch. It's a ridiculous place now. It's kind of just the final stage of gentrification is when the brunch people show up. If you have an Instagrammable spot, you have got full brunch person.
If you're looking at a neighborhood and a Target's opening up, you're too late.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I actually have to go run to Target and get a frozen pizza. So, I'm going to try to take advantage of this area before it's at the end. But yeah, if you guys have had a good time today, thank you very much. Please subscribe. Steve, do you have anything else you want to say before we head out of here?
I think I'm good, Matt. Take care, and I'll talk to you next time.
Sounds great. Everybody, thanks so much. Bye-bye.